Tara Schoedinger. It's October 20th, 1913. We're at the Jamestown Town Hall office. Oops, 2013. So I guess on October 11th, I was driving home from work and it was pouring, cats and dogs, and I was talking to my father. We told him that it had been pouring for days, and he said, oh no, because he's from Ohio. And I said, oh no, when you're from the high desert, no, it's great, it's great. And my stepmother said, be careful what you wish for. Anyhow, got home that night, getting ready for bed. We checked the creek levels, we checked the gulch next door. It was pouring, but everything seemed okay. The creek was rising, but we're kind of used to that.
So there was a good deal of background noise during that. I think if you think this is an essential part, we should do it over again. So pardon me for interrupting.
You could even change the year if you want it. Or you
Change the year?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. Name Tara Schoedinger. Date October 20th, 2013. Location is Jamestown Town Hall Town Office. So I was driving home from work on September 11th, and talking to my father. Told him that it was raining cats and dogs. He said, oh no, he's from Columbus, Ohio. And I said, no, when you're from the high desert, it's great, it's great. My stepmother said, be careful what you wish for. Got home, we checked the levels of the creek, and everything was rising, but whenever we started getting ready for bed, my husband heard the gulch run, and it sounds like a freight train. We'd heard it before. So he ran out saying, there goes the gulch. He came back about 30 seconds later saying, Joey's house collapsed, call 911. So I called 911 and ordered up every resource I could think of to order up around Boulder Emergency Services, left hand, paramedics, road crews, lights, everything. And as I understand it, they were all en route. And they were all en route. They all got stopped by all the different flood events that occurred up and down the canyons. And we tried desperately to see if there was any way that we could get to Joey. There wasn't. And people were pretty confident that it was a futile effort at that point, given the way that the house had collapsed and where we believed him to be. His roommate Miles did make it out alive. He was able to escape out a window before it collapsed. And so we tried to manage that situation and realized that the creek was rising. It was rising to a point where it had backed up in the culvert underneath Ward Street, came over the road, and about 6 inches of water started coming down the street, and we knew that there was a bigger problem. We started going door to door down Ward Street, evacuating those folks, and those cars started coming out. We decided to take our dog and drop him off. As we joined the procession up the canyon of all the evacuees, we realized that we weren't going to get very far because there was a mudslide that we ran into, another slide. So we went up to some friend's house, and that's where we were just going to drop our dog off. But instead we brought about 20 people there, and that's where we all hunkered down for the night. We had reverse 911s go out a couple times, but finally to evacuate to higher ground up to the school if they could. People drove up to the school. The assistant up there had opened up the school and was running the evacuation center up there. We were in phone contact, going down the phone list, trying to determine who we needed to call, who we thought was at greatest risk, and making sure that they got out. So we did that. We made a lot of phone calls, checking people down canyon even. And by the time we tried to lay down at about 5:30 in the morning, we had a pretty good handle on where people were, knowing that they knew about the situation, and that the people that needed to evacuate had left their homes. So about 2 hours later, I didn't sleep at all, wondering if there was something more that we could have done for Joey, and worried about his son, who didn't yet know. And so we got up before daybreak and and I was sleeping next to my husband and a good friend on the floor in the friend's basement, and his friend was snoring quite a bit, so I didn't really have a chance to sleep. But we came back to town, and that's when all the evacuation started up to the school. So we started getting people out of their homes, getting them up to the school if they hadn't left their homes, because maybe we didn't think that it was important or whatnot. But we knew that the water was rising. We knew that homes were threatened. We knew that the bridges might go or be overrun if they got stopped up. And so we got everybody, as many people who wanted to go over to the south side up to the school. And we finally went over early afternoon, and I think we were the last pickup truck. We were just in the back of the pickup truck that was evacuated out that side, just as the water was coming over Lower Main Street as the bridge backed up and it hopped its banks. So then we had about 100 or more people over on the south side, and probably about 20 or 30 people over here on the north side. We all hunkered down for the evening, and the next morning we got up and we had decided to form a command team on the north side and 2 command teams on the south side where we had most of the people. So we had our incident command over here on the north side, which we were in radio contact with, and he was in radio contact with the county. We then had our community command team and our fire command team, or emergency services command team. And the community command team consisted of our town clerk, the assistant up at the school, and one of our EMS personnel. And they were the ones collecting information around what resources were available, who needed what, and knowing where those things were. We didn't want everything stockpiled at the school. And eventually we lost power. The waters continued to rise. We started losing homes, one after the other. We started seeing a lot of propane tanks floating down. And they're quite amazing to watch them go off in the water. And we lost a car, more homes, and it's kind of what we watched the whole morning. Finally, we were alerted that, because we needed a medical evacuation, and we knew that that was coming. And then, as soon as the clouds broke, and then they said that all evacuations were going to occur that afternoon, which people were not mentally prepared for. We had ourselves pretty well organized. People were prepared to be here for days. And I think secretly kind of looking forward to it. Everything was going good. We were kind of enjoying ourselves, enjoying our time with our community. Everybody was working together. And I think that mind shift of, oh God, I'm going to go down and end up in a big evacuation center down in Boulder and Longmont was just really unappealing for them. And quite frightening for some people. We weren't sure whether they were going to take animals. We said, just go down to the helicopters. If they take animals, then go. If they don't, then stay. They took all the animals, and we just started the evacuation process one after another. And these giant Chinooks and Blackhawks coming in and landing down at the lower park was pretty amazing. The military did such a phenomenal job getting everybody out. So that was Friday the 13th. So September 11th, everything started. On the 12th, that's when we evacuated everybody up to the school or to the north side. And then on the 13th, we started the evacuations. So the evacuations continued that day. We hunkered down after dark when they quit the evacuations that day and resumed them on Saturday. Did more evacuations all day Saturday, and I think there were a couple more on Sunday. And a few of us needed to stay around that were on the fire department to complete the incident here, which was the recovery of Joey. And so Rocky Mountain Rescue had come in at that point and set up a zip line for us up here at the upper bridge. And so we came across there with our dog and animals, and they were phenomenal. Rocky Mountain Rescue, Boulder County, everybody was amazing. And we came back to this side. Some people were able to pack up their belongings and evacuate out this side, and a few of us stayed behind with Incident Command to make sure that that we recovered Joey. Then there were also people that just couldn't, for whatever reason, decide to evacuate. And then I I think it was a few days later, they tried 3 different times to come up and recover Joe. And first time realized that they needed bigger equipment. Second time got called off because of weather. And then the third time they recovered him. And we had asked to spend a little bit of time with him, which they let us do. And so we had a small little memorial for him here. And we were able to spend about 15 minutes with him, and then help carry him to the van. And that was, I think, a really special moment. It was the first time that as many people were back here as we had in the days prior, and so it was kind of a really special moment. And for those people that had come back that day to retrieve belongings, it was the first time that a really rough road was in up above. So we did that, and then eventually everybody, or most people, had evacuated. And then it's been a day or two later. I'm not sure how the Southern Baptists came to us, but they came to us, and they just appeared and one day, and I'm sure somebody okayed it, and maybe even I did, I don't know. But they came here and they've been amazing. They brought in all these work crews, all these like heavy equipment. They dozed all this dirt around. The county has dozed temporary roads around through material that I didn't think that they could have pushed around. I don't know if it's like a D9 or something like that, the dozer that they came to move the mudslide out from Joe in front of Joey's house and push through.
Rolling, please clap.
So the D9 was pretty impressive as it came through and pushed its way through the big mudslide. That was pretty phenomenal watching that. I watched that from the upstairs of a friend's house right outside, and it almost took itself off its tracks just trying to push it around. There was just so much large debris, the big trees and boulders, that it was pretty impressive what they've done. And they have since cleaned up our streets. Their missions have been things like cleaning up our streets so we have 2 lanes, getting people to create worksheets so that they can come in and help mud out houses, even if they think that they're a total loss, just to give these people options with their homes and their lives. FEMA's come up here. They have been, it's amazing to me really when you have somebody like FEMA come in, and the people that come in with FEMA who have been to multiple disasters, whether it's Katrina or 9/11 or some of these horrible tornado disasters, and they come in here and grown men leaving crying. You know how impactful that is. And while for many of us it's become sort of our new normal and every day things get better, you sort of lose that perspective of what it's like to see this place for the first time. But the Baptists have been here. They're going to be here for another couple of weeks. We've had so much support and help from volunteers. We had probably over 100 volunteers here today. We've had incredible help from the Department of Local Affairs, Colorado Water Conservation Board. The county has been amazing and so supportive. Our political leadership, Governor Hickenlooper, Senators Bennett and Udall, have all been up, and they've been amazing. Even the media has been incredibly respectful of our wishes and working with us for the things that they did publish. Everybody's been really amazing, and our community has really stuck together. And while they could be really frustrated by how long it's going to take to rebuild or how long it might take to put a road in down Ward Street, they have been patient. And every time we've talked about it, they have exhibited amazing patience and understanding of the process that we need to go through, so that hopefully some of these temporary repairs that we put in place can actually be permanent repairs, that we don't have to go back and do them a second time, which would also cost the town a lot more money. So hopefully we can try and get some of these repairs done once and get them done right. Anything else you guys want? So Excel came in here right away afterwards. As soon as the roads opened up, Excel was in here picking up down power lines, down power poles, de-energizing down lines as soon as they could get in here, and just making it a bit more safe. And then they came through and started re-energizing homes, and they worked really closely with our community to determine which buildings to re-energize, making sure that they weren't energizing damaged properties, and that the people that did want power, which in some cases it might have been hard to tell, that they could get power so that they could help try and save their homes. County
Camera rolling?
Sound rolling.
Okay.
We've had an incredible amount of utilities up here, and then on Lower Main Street we had the county come up. We'd asked them to put a road through on Lower Main Street because we had a ton of cars parked up on Mesa, people that had evacuated and driven up there. And so they came through and said they could put a culvert in, and where the water going around the clogged bridge, and then put a road through. And they said, we can probably do that in about by the end of the week. And I thought, there's no way by the end of the week. Maybe in a few weeks I'll have this road through. And they were working with Excel Energy to upright and remove poles and restring power lines and that sort of thing. And then they dropped that culvert and built that road all in one day. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing what they've done. They came up to help put a road underneath a bridge. We were concerned because water was flowing through right next to a guy's house, and he couldn't keep it out from his crawl space, and he was trying to save his home, and the county put the water back underneath the bridge, which was the right thing to do, and it helped to save his home, hopefully. We've had FEMA and Department of Local Affairs and all the different state agencies come up and offer us so many resources. We've had people coming up here, just sitting here every single day, our dedicated resources. We're now talking about putting a road through Ward Street, and we're hoping, we've got a hydrologist that we're working with that CWCB, Colorado Water Conservation Board, has offered to pay for. And to try and figure out, in the short term, what does the stream need to look like? Where does it need to be located? What banks do we need to reinforce? So that when it comes time for spring runoff, which FEMA's not used to dealing with, they're used to hurricanes and floods and those types of things. They're not used to spring runoff in the mountains. But where does the water need to be so that we can handle the bed load of the stream when it comes to spring runoff? And so he's been tremendously helpful. We've also got an RFP out now for a master plan, which FEMA doesn't cover. The state said that they would help us cover that. And then we're working on our project worksheets with FEMA for all of our different permanent repairs, working with the county to understand who's going to be the applicant based on the intergovernmental agreement that we have with them. And then we're also working on our fundraising. We know that there's going to be a significant portion, much larger than our current financial capacity today, that the town is going to need to and wants to contribute to its own rebuilding. We have a rebuildjamestown.org site where we're raising money to rebuild Jamestown. There was a big fundraiser yesterday, Cyclists for Jamestown. Jamestown's the #1 destination for cyclists in Boulder County. And so they banded together, and I think they raised maybe over $100,000 for Jamestown yesterday. And then they also did a paddle raiser and raised, I think, several $1,000s for the Jamestown Mercantile and the family that owns that, which has been just tremendous. Yeah, is there anything else you guys want to know about?
I'd like you to talk about the character of the community here, because I think it's different than most places that people in America live, and what that meant before, during, and after the flood.
So the character of our community is, I think you could characterize it as being a really tight-knit, sort of big family community. And certainly there are individual disputes or whatever, just normal life stuff, but I would say overall we go to people's weddings, funerals, we help raise each other's children, we all enjoy to party together. It's a really tight-knit community. We're all used to going down to the Jamestown Merc every Thursday for a home cooked meal and having that meal together. We have live music on Thursday and Saturday nights, and sometimes Monday nights as well, and sometimes Friday nights. And we have a massive party up here on the 4th of July, the really crazy parade with the kazoo band that Joey started. and it's a really phenomenal community. And I think through this whole thing, what's been really apparent to me, sort of in the position that I'm in, is the amount of support, sort of unconditional support that people have for the rebuilding effort and the recovery effort. And I just happen to be a part of that. And everybody's doing exactly what they need to do for themselves and also offering to help with the rebuilding effort. And I think that's tremendously valuable in a small community and incredibly generous given the scope of the disaster for each individual in our community. So I think, what we really want to do throughout the winter is have gatherings where we can gather together as a community. And every time we do that, whether it's a community meeting or Joey's memorial, whatever it is, everybody talks about how incredibly important it is to continue to have these events throughout the winter so that we can stay together as a community.
What's your population?
We have a population of around 275 on average.
And I heard a great story about the owners of the Mercantile, that they evacuated and they left the store open.
They did.
That sums up a lot to me.
Yeah, they Rainbow and Adam, who purchased the Jamestown Merc from Joey, when they evacuated with their 2 little kids, I think they evacuated on Saturday or Sunday, but when they evacuated, they left the Merc open, and we used it sort of as our incident command. We used it for our community meetings that we would have on a daily basis, just briefing about the incident. We used it as a place to go down and get a hot meal. We had breakfast and lunch and dinner. It's where people brought food down to be shared with the community, and it's where we all gathered. And of course, they left kegs for us.